Hello, DragonCon. All right.
Kevin, what are you doing?
Kevin.
Kevin's chosen the Morocco.
Yes. Which music dance experience have you chosen?
Exactly.
This is my Defiant Jazz presentation. Thank you.
Yes.
Ooh, actual working mics and I like that.
Yeah, well,
Hello.
He was picking up all of your wrestling. That's why
Yeah.
I'm teasing you.
All of my mocking the audience was being picked up by everyone. That's good.
Digital media is on point with that.
Exactly. Remember, you're on video, too.
So many track rooms is like you can't even tell if the mic is working or not, but this is solid. This is good. Wow. Okay.
Well,
This really works.
Stand out there and yell for people to come in?
no. No.
She really doesn't want to sit here.
No, she doesn't.
I've seen some other people say that. I really
He was thinking it, though.
Those are mine.
That's so funny.
Mike Gordon.
This is already a way bigger audience than we were expecting.
Exactly.
There are 8
Well,
more people
exactly.
here than we thought there would be.
Okay.
I think we're all cool. We can take our masks off and even our clothing. Just just this group, we can be totally
You
fine.
start.
All of us.
I'm not taking my shirt off to get people to come in the room, okay?
Judy, that was our whole business model to make this a successful panel.
In
You've
fact, that's what the entire panel is about.
Clear it with me.
come on, Judy.
Judy, I've got electrical tape if you need.
So you're fine. See, so it'll be totally modest.
Whatever.
Be it-
Does this count as an after dark panel? I thought we were
We're in the basement, so yeah, it's dark all year long.
Light does not ever come down here.
the hell panel.
This is like
I
a.
live with you every day, but I don't know what I get out of that.
We're on the seventh. Kevin just pointed out we're on the 7th floor.
Yes.
Yes.
Anything goes.
Yes.
We will not remember any of this tomorrow.
Welcome.
Wow. Is that Darth Chicken back there?
I think it's more of a plague doctor.
Plague doctor. Are you a plague doctor? Okay.
Wow.
That is very
What
appropriate.
That's gorgeous.
What
Wow.
regeneration was that? The plague of the.
The plague doctor.
They have that mask as part of like
The last big plague year was 1665.
Until right
I
now.
think it was 2020.
Yeah. We got a pretty good plague year happening right now, everybody.
If you're talking about the bubonic
That makes
plague,
sense. Okay. The plague doctor.
That's a fantastic plague costume, though, in the back.
Yes.
Very nicely done.
Well, thank you, everyone. Welcome to the 10th anniversary panel of the ESO Network.
Wow.
Woohoo!
My name is Mike Faber. I'm the creator of the ESO Network. It's all because of me. You fools are down here on a Saturday night at 8:30.
There's so many better places you could be right now. It's Saturday night at DragonCon, and we're in the basement to discuss a podcast network.
Yes.
We should all be questioning our life choices right now.
I do that every day.
Many people are like going, did I make the right decision coming here? It's like, it was basically, when we first started it, it was just like, hey, let's start a second podcast. Oh, wait, we're going to have to create a network because of that. So
Which one came second?
we'll get to that. We'll get
This
to
is a journey.
Don't
This
don't
is
jump
a
the
long
shark.
journey. Let's go back to the year 1967.
The summer of love is
Exactly.
when this all begins.
Exactly. No. But it's awesome. Let's introduce the folks here. Like I said, my name's Mike Faber. Over on my left.
Hi, I'm Mary Ogle. I'm a writer and an artist and a co-host of Earth Station Who for the ESO Network.
And she actually remembered this time. That's
I
good.
did.
That's awesome.
Well, that's because you beat me up after last time.
And
I'm still recovering.
Hey, folks. I'm Kevin. I am the producer and co-host of the Flopcast, which is a longtime podcast, part of the ESO Network. Well, the Flopcast has been going for 10 years now, but not not part of the network for all 10 years. But we're like a nerdy, geeky, silly pop culture weekly podcast. And I have really stupid, goofy ribbons. So if you don't have one of my stupid ribbons yet, make sure you do not leave this room without one of
Without
my
one.
stupid ribbons.
Awesome. And of course, to my right.
Howdy.
Howdy.
My name is Mike Gordon, and I am a writer, comic publisher, and a podcaster. I dare say I'm a founding member of the ESO Network.
You are? You are?
I dare say that.
You dare.
I dare. Yeah, what a long, strange trip it's been.
And continues to be.
It does, because, some people go, like, when you say, oh, we're going to make a network, you make all these grand plans and everything. We just threw it together, like, when we were not expecting to be doing this 3 years from then and everything. And we're here 10 years later, and I've gone through the different numbers. Should we wait till you're done, sir?
No, you're good, yeah.
Okay.
Now you're looking at your notes.
I'm
Good.
sending a message to my wife who is 18 feet away right now.
You are.
Yeah.
Does it say
But
applause?
seriously, you really should not wait. Please continue.
Okay. No, it's been interesting because we started the network with 4 shows and grew from there. And so out of all the shows that have been, Earth Station 1 was the very first, of course, and that's where we got ESO from. And then we decided we had people complaining because we used to talk about Doctor Who in Earth Station 1 all the time. And people were like saying, we like what you're talking about, but you're talking too much about Doctor Who. So basically what we did was decided to spin off Earth Station 1 into Earth Station Who. And we then...
We never talked about Doctor Who on Earth Station 1 again.
We really didn't. We really haven't, actually. We really haven't. And it was around the 100th episode of Earth Station 1. And so we have, we're right now at 544 episodes later on that, and we have not once talked about Doctor Who. And so, which is good, because...
that blows my mind, though. The fact that we had 100 episodes of Earth Station 1 under our belt before we did the network.
Yeah.
Before we spun out.
Wow.
That to me is amazing.
So Earth Station 1 was going for almost 2 years before
Yeah.
the network started.
Yeah, because
Okay.
we've been podcasting for about
12 and a half.
Yeah.
We've been together for 12 and a half years doing Earth Station 1. And, I think it was actually at Hulanta, or it was called Timegate back then. And we met we had been talking with Dr. Scott, and he had been doing a Doctor Who podcast also, but he was thinking about doing a science podcast. And he was going to call it Dr. Geek's Laboratory. And he says, well, if you're thinking about spinning off, why not? It was his idea, actually, to do the network. And he says, why don't we create a network for it? And then we also met Jason and Rita Delatorre at that time also, and they were in my Podcasting 101 panel that I had it. And they basically were like, hey, we're thinking about doing a podcast also. And literally within 2 days, they had said, we've created our podcast, we're ready to join the network. And it was like, wow.
That was Transmissions from Atlantis?
Transmissions from Atlantis was the 4th show.
And they've gone on and formed their whole media empire separately since then.
Well, exactly.
So this was all Dr. Scott's fault.
It's all
then,
Dr.
you're saying.
Scott's
Yeah.
fault.
And look,
Dr. Scott.
where is he? We've got a name thing up here for Dr. Scott, but Scott was not able, sadly, to join us at DragonCon this year. But we've got they still made the thing for him, which I like.
Well, because he was listed, if you look at the directions and
He's listed in the
he's
panel.
listed
Yeah.
on the panel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he
This will
didn't
be auctioned later. The proceeds will go to Open Hands Atlanta. Yeah.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
We will.
And then the ghostly image of Scott will somehow appear behind us.
He's not dead.
Are you sure? Some people are dead to me, but that's a whole different story. And they have been part of the network. No. But it's interesting because we've had a lot of growing pains. We've had a lot of mistakes. We've had a lot of Kevin joining the network.
That was the biggest mistake. But no, that's what I wanted to hear about, though, Mike, was it's been 10 years, and this is all on you. It's all your fault. It's not Scott's fault. It's not Scott's fault.
No.
It's Mike's fault. But 10 years, which is a long amount of time.
It's a decade.
It doesn't feel like that. I know, but as a podcaster who does a weekly show, as you do, 10 years is nothing because as soon as you release an episode, it's time to make the next episode. And so there's no time to even reflect upon the fact that you've been doing this for so long. You're just always on deadline. You're always making a new podcast. It always feels like a new thing. But ESO Network, to start a podcast network 10 years ago, did you do everything exactly right?
No.
Or are there things that you would have done differently in retrospect?
Well, it was interesting because, and this is for folks who have never heard of, tried to join a network or anything. Back when Mike and I first started ESO, the podcast, we had been contacted by another network to join their network. And it was a fledgling network that wanted to go up against the Nerdist. And
I think the Nerdist was one of the biggest networks at the time.
yeah,
Sure.
it was, this is 10 years ago. Well, actually, this was 11 years ago at the time. And you were still going out to San Diego Comic-Con at the time. And we had made these agreements and worked up all these plans to join this network. And I wanted Mike to meet the folks from it. And it was a disaster, literally, that he, came out, that, they basically blew him off. And they didn't want really anything to do with him.
Was it Mark Maron? Be honest. Was it Mark Maron?
I wish it was Mark Maron.
Mark Maron, I would take that from.
Oh, yeah.
Other folks, no.
Yeah.
And it was when things started going wrong after Mike met them, and I don't blame you on it, don't worry.
No.
That they, still wanted us to join the network. They were going hot and heavy. Oh, we want Earth Station 1 to be, one of our flagship shows. We want, you guys to, go up head to head with Nerdist. We want you to we'll set interviews for you. We'll set all this stuff. All these great things. The only thing is, we want the rights to Earth Station 1 as to be part of the network. And right there, that was a red flag. That was like, oh, hell no.
So that is to say, they would own Earth Station 1, your podcast?
They would
even
own-
if you decided to sever the relationship, it's like, sorry, you agree that we own Earth Station 1 now?
Yeah, pretty much. And and I said, no, I don't want my intellectual rights to be with another company. If you guys wanted to fire myself or Mike, or tell me who my co-host would be, or tell me what I have to talk about each week, I don't want that. This is my show and everything. And they took offense to it, and they started, coming on, trying to pressure me to sign a contract with them. And it was just like, no, this is not how you do a network. So when we started talking
I don't
about,
think they're around anymore either.
no, they're not. And I was not shocked by it or anything. And because they had a couple folks who involved with it who were involved with Buffy the Vampire Slayer and a couple of other, big names that were involved with the network. But there were just all these red flags. So when I started ESO, that was the first thing Mike and I had talked about, with the network. And we decided that if you wanted to join ESO, it was voluntarily. You joined because you were part of a group, not, and you could leave anytime. We didn't own your rights to your show.
Why did I have to write my contract in human blood then, if that's the case?
We weren't going to talk about that.
You're not allowed to talk about that.
I've probably said too much.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Didn't you read the fine print?
Evidently, I did not.
Exactly. We don't talk about that. And so it basically was a lot of fun because we started getting other shows to join our network. And at one point, we were up to almost 35, 40 shows on the network. But there was no consistency. And that's why we created a board of directors for it.
Which is this? If I hold this up, here's the complete.
This is
the entire board of directors.
We are the board of directors of ESO, and being part of the network was a lot of work. Trying to keep up with everything. It was all willy-nilly, and then we started. We had Scott start writing up some rules about being on the network, and we started. We would let podcasts on the network that didn't even have a history, brand new shows. We let like Tallulah Love, who is a very big burlesque person here in Atlanta. She wanted to do a podcast, so I helped her get started, and we came up with Burlesque Atlanta, and she had like 20 episodes or something, and then she disappeared. She didn't have time for it because she was starting stuff. We had Dr. Q, who is the co-director of the alternate history track here. He had a podcast for over 100 episodes, and we have all these different shows that were even Dan Carroll, who is the media director here at DragonCon, had a show called Seriously Dan. And so it's all interesting who we've had and different names. We've had people who've gone on to other things like Phantom Troublemaker, and and it's kind of cool. We had Mary joined with us with Earth Station Who after I think episode 100 of that show, and she wanted to get more involved, and that's how we had her starting to help with the website and then being part of it. Mary, the question is, what is being part of a network like? Is it being part of the board and everything, having to have people come up to you with the website stuff and everything?
I love it. I mean, it's a lot of extra work, but it's it's a way to feel connected to other people who are doing something that you love, like podcasting. That's what I love most about the network, is it's become kind of a family, in the sense that we all help each other out. I mean, there's we help new podcasts figure out audio issues, and everyone, we're very open to having people come to us in order to start something new or to figure out an issue. And it just, that kind of camaraderie is sometimes hard to find. And so that's what I really enjoy most about the network.
I mean, anybody can start a podcast. If I could start a podcast, which I did, anybody can start a podcast. But yeah, when the skills that individual people have comes forward when there's a community forms and a group forms, a team forms, and Mary is a voice on a podcast, fine, and she's great at that, and there are lots of people who are on podcasts, but then Mary's contribution to the network is now I learned, Mary is a gifted illustrator and graphic designer and writer. And those are things that would not come through just, here's Mary talking about Doctor Who. But no, Mary has such talents that she brings to the network.
Very much so. And Mikey, when I first approached you about us expanding the shows and going into a network, what were your initial thoughts?
Well, I thought, obviously we had to break off Earth Station Who into its own show. I think we both realized that was a smart move. So Earth Station 1, the flagship we call it, could continue to grow and become what it's become, which we're both pretty proud of. and having the other shows come in, I mean, it's been a great sense of community. There's a lot of people that I've met through the network that I wouldn't have met under normal circumstances. And, you know, we kind of sort of have the mentality that's sort of like DragonCon does. It's like you've got all these different tracks, and the different tracks do their different things, and they're self-sustaining. Some do a little things different than others. The tracks are never quite the same because the people who run them are different. And it's the same way with the podcasts that we have on the network. We like to try to, you know, DragonCon has been very inspirational to us as podcasters, not only for the network, but for Earth Station One. We've always looked at, you know, having topics, getting panelists or guests, as we call them, to talk about stuff, much like you see here, the model is for DragonCon. So it's been very inspirational for that, and we'd like to have this sort of the same way DragonCon has this great fan community. That's what we're trying to continue to try to build with the network.
And it's been tough because there's been times where we've almost had some of our podcasters revolt, literally, about stuff we've done at the network.
I mean, many of them are actively revolting.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Not many.
Well, one or two.
A couple.
Yeah. No,
Well, I mean, there's always going to be growing pains.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, when you decide, like, it used to be, the network used to be more free form. And then we decided to try to make it a bit more professional, to join and to have certain standards
of them, so it's not just sort of
and
very
to,
vague.
you know, just,
And that's-
that was
It
causing
also-
problems.
and that's the interesting thing with it is that, you know, when we put in, you know, as part of the growing pains, and we decided probably too late in the process to officially make a contract up and to, you know, say, hey, this is what's required of you to be part of ESO. And as the shows grew, you know, as we were growing, we should have done it probably 5 years before this and everything.
That's when it helps to have an actual lawyer on your board of directors.
Exactly. So we had Dr. Scott actually write up a contract for us, and we sent it out to all our podcasts at the time. And what ended up happening was that we ended up losing.
Everyone immediately abandoned the network.
No, literally, I think on the day.
Did
you
we
know,
lose people?
We lost probably about 10 shows
Wow.
off the network.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that many. Okay. But I
And-
mean, you know, okay, bye.
Exactly. You know, if they didn't want to sign the contract or be part of or be committed to it, because the contract wasn't non-binding anyway, and so it was more of, hey, you know, we just wanted to see that you're going to be committed to the network. You know, Dr. Scott even came out and said, hey, this will not, if you want to take this to court or you want an attorney to see it, it's not going to hold up in you know, to that. And we weren't even asking anything like, hey, if you sign this contract, we own your souls or something like that. It was never like that.
Yeah,
And-
it's always been a pretty loose collective as far as networks go, in that the podcasts on the ESO network, each podcast, they own their show.
They own the
And
content.
the only exception is that we have shows called like Earth Station DCU, Earth Station Trek. If your show contains the title Earth Station, then it's a little trickier because you could not just take that show and go take it somewhere else, because then you're taking the Earth Station One ESO brand with you. But otherwise, yeah, if we have a show, if they decide to go their own way, which many shows have left ESO Network under very friendly terms, and sure, go do your own thing. Best of luck, and we're still friends, and we still guest on each other's shows, and that's fine.
We tease them about it and stuff. You know, oh, you left the network, you know, that type of thing. But overall, it's been very friendly, and we've had shows where, you know, they've outgrown our network too. You know, like when Dave West did Needless Things, I knew, seeing in him, that he was going to outgrow the network very quickly and everything. And he did. He went on to bigger, better things. And I don't even think is David still, I don't even think he's doing the podcast really anymore.
Yeah, I think the Needless Things podcast he has officially wrapped. But of course,
But he's
he's
working-
still doing various creative projects, and he's all over DragonCon this weekend doing excellent panels and game shows and stuff.
And there's, I mean, the G.I. Joe interlude is kind of related to him, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
The podcast. So, I mean, he is still podcasting.
Yeah. But it's neat to see. And, you know, we've had some amazing folks join the network. We've had, you know, people who want to be there, and they help out. They, you know, they do things for the network. You know, like this year at DragonCon, this is the largest amount of media people we've had at DragonCon ever. I think we have 6 people covering for the network, and that originally it started as me. You know, I was the media team. I was the guest. I literally had all these different hats on.
How's media going this year, Mary? Mary's in charge of the media team, right?
Well,
Uh-oh. You didn't answer right away. You had to stop and think about it. That's a quote from Charlie Brown Christmas, by the way. Thank you.
it all depends on what point of view you're taking. If you're looking at it from the interview side, it's not going well.
Oh, no.
But that's mostly because of COVID protocols, and they
Like the guests do not want to
Yes,
speak with the ESO network?
the guests do not want to speak with anybody, which is understandable.
Yes.
Actually. So I don't blame anybody for that, but we are covering a lot of different aspects of DragonCon, and we're blogging about it and podcasting about it. So we're doing a lot of other things. You know, media is always sort of a very ever-flowing, changing thing.
Media at DragonCon is sort of a nebulous enterprise, I suppose.
It's good though, but you know, we have a presence here. We're going to have, you know, people reporting on their first time at DragonCon. They're going to be reporting on, you know, LGBT, you know, events that happened here. We're going to have folks who are reporting on the parties, and you know, we even had, you know, we did get one interview this year, so.
We did get one interview, yes.
But you know, I think that's to your credit, though, Mike. Is that the ESO network, which you built, is very much has such a strong relationship with DragonCon. With this, we've been such a, you know, it's an international network. You know, literally, we have podcasters in other countries who are part of the network, but this is our home base, is DragonCon.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's to the relationship that you've built with this convention is very important to ESO.
It's been pretty awesome here at DragonCon, because like I think it was on Thursday when I was doing the newbies tours and everything and walking around, I had probably at least 24 people come up to me. I love your podcast. It's with the DragonCon report. I was listening to the DragonCon report, your newest episode, on the way up here.
That was me, by the way, wearing various wigs and mustaches and things. But
and I appreciate it. Still,
you're welcome, buddy.
My ego couldn't fit through the room, you know, through any of the sky bridges. And so, but it's a good feeling knowing that, you know, we're out there. People know who we are. People have said, Earth Station 1, oh, I like you guys, you know. Or, you know, it's you know, I had somebody walk up to me and went, howdy, you know, today and everything.
That's the other mic.
Wrong mic,
I said,
buddy.
he's up on the 4th floor. Go check it out.
Like, hashtag not my mic.
Yeah. Which is awesome. So it's pretty cool. And, you know, Mikey, what about with you, you know, with the network? You know, you see it also.
I do. And like, you know, we see, you know, not to keep talking about DragonCon, but it does tie in. I mean, Mike and I met each other in person for the first time at DragonCon.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, DragonCon is wired into this network's DNA.
It always will be, probably.
I think so. And we, you know, we love the con so much. We would cover it on the podcast. Again, it became one of those things like Doctor Who, where we broke off to another podcast. And so we talk about DragonCon almost all year round, from January to October. There is a episode of the DragonCon report where we talk about, what's happened, what's going to happen, what we'd like to happen. We are unofficial. We like being unofficial because we like to take a different side or look at DragonCon from a different angle, a different perspective. I saw today, one of our listeners came up to me. He had a DragonCon shirt with the new logo.
Hey,
Looked really good.
Awesome.
available at the T Public store.
Yeah, exactly. We talked about, he said, I love the DragonCon report as well. The DragonCon report probably is one of our biggest, most popular shows on our network. And we're proud of that as well.
Some of our podcasters think, with the, that their shows are a little bigger, especially when they make up the numbers.
It's true. But we recently implemented a survey among our various podcasts, just internally, to try to find out what's going on and what people want from the network and what we can do to help them, because podcasting is so full of challenges. So what can we help with? What can we help each other with? So we're still looking at that. But the one thing that we did get a response, probably the biggest response that we got from the survey from all of our shows, is that the one thing that they really love about the network is the community, the family that's based, the family that's here. And I think that speaks volumes about the success that we've had doing what we want to do. Because I don't think you get that. I know you don't get that in a corporate environment. The people on Westwood One aren't like going, oh, this is a great community of folks I could talk to, whatever. They're just not doing that. So for all of our struggles, because we're still not making like lots of money or anything like that on the network, but
What is this money you speak
exactly. But at least
We're supposed to be making it?
we're
Spending it.
at least we're in it together. So that's a good feeling.
And being part of the network certainly brings opportunity. I don't think I'd be on any fan panels at DragonCon without first getting to be on Earth Station Who and being part of the network, and then meeting people through you guys in order to be put on panels and, talk about things that I love. So, there's definitely, and we may not be getting rich, but there's definitely advantages to being part of a network.
Yeah, that was an easy answer and again, this is kind of behind the scenes stuff, just surveying the network, the podcasts on the network. But yeah, that way, as Mike just said, that was instantly my answer. What's been your best response to being a part of a network is, yeah, the community is easily the best part of being part of this podcast network. Is it total download numbers? Yeah, there's a bump in your numbers if you're part of a network because that gives you that additional exposure.
Well, it's all
But
about cross promotion.
it's the connections. Well, sure, we are all promoting each other's shows. We play promos for the other shows on the network, on all our shows, which is, I don't know how much of a bump, how much of a help that actually is. It's probably a little bit, but maybe probably not too much. But it just reinforces the idea of a network to have those promos. I don't think there's a huge translation to download numbers by playing each other's promos, but it sets the tone that this is a community, which I think is very valuable.
Well, and that's one of the things with ESO is it is a business first and foremost, but eventually someday we will make some kind of revenue, maybe, possibly.
We can hope.
We can hope. But
If we put out a bucket right now,
if each one of you put in $1, we'll make more than no. But it's the great thing about ESO is I want any of the shows to be able to come to any of us on the board, have any of the board members, if they have any issues or anything, to be able to come to each other. It's all about, like Kevin's been saying, community. It's all we want to be there for them. And I love the podcasts who go beyond what's even required of them And I'm sorry to call you guys out, but Joe and Tony, you guys have done a fantastic job with the extras you guys have done for Patreon for us and everything. And, all the, just you guys, even when you guys went on a hiatus, you guys still put out extra episodes.
That was. I'm seeing Tony Heath right now for the first time in my life, by the way. But this is Tony and Joe, who are the hosts of the Watchathon of Rassilon, which is a Doctor Who podcast on the ESO Network. And yeah, they've been on hiatus for a month or two right now, and they have continued to put out episodes somehow. While they're, I don't think you guys know what hiatus means.
And
They're on their wilderness year.
that's where they are in their show too, which is pretty awesome. And
Oh, because I was on their TV movie episode.
and that's the cool thing about it is, could we do things better? Yes, of course. Could we, maybe focus more on our marketing? Could we focus more on getting more bloggers? Could we get, more advertisers? Yes, of course we could. But we're doing it at our own pace. We're maybe not doing it the right way, but we're doing it our way. And you know what? Life is too stressful to be able to have, this weighing us down and everything. I want us all to be, when we get together and have a board meeting, it's all friends getting together and talking about what's going on. But then afterwards, we record a podcast called Board Silly because we want to have fun together. And people who have written us and said, you could tell that you guys actually like each other. And there's, and you don't get that in a corporate environment and everything. If we were, something like some of these networks and everything, and there's been a ton of networks that have started up and disappeared and everything, or shows that have been on ESO that have come to us from other networks because there's networks out there that just want to collect shows. There's, or they want to, or they just want to, get corporate revenue from them, and there's no connection or anything. And, we still get requests for being on the network a couple times a month, and this is our heavy right here.
I'm telling you, I have attained the reputation of
Richly deserved.
the butcher laying down the hammer. Like, nope, this show is not good enough for the ESO Network. But I think, as Mike said before, the early days of the network, you were just kind of collecting shows, right? Like, want to be part of the ESO Network? All right, come on in.
Yeah.
Which is fine. That's a valid way to do. I mean, podcasting
the
is.
people had to say yes to become
Yes.
part of the network.
But podcasting is still the Wild West, and a podcast network. And I mean, we're not going to go. That's a rabbit hole. This track has done multiple panels over the years about podcast networks, which can mean any number of things. There's all kinds of podcast networks. And I think in the early days, it was, you want to come in? Come on in. But we're trying to lay down some base level of both quality of show and is this show bringing something to this network, to this collective of shows that we don't currently have? And I think, and we're taking a harder approach to when shows say, hey, can I be part of your network? It's like, well, how many shows have you produced? We're going to listen to your shows, and we're going to judge these shows harshly. Because, I mean, these are lovely people, and
They're putting work into it. Yeah.
they're putting hours and hours of effort into producing a podcast, and good for them. And we want to be sure that they will bring something, that it's going to be a viable relationship to bring them in. And otherwise, we're not going to bother.
But the thing is, you've been overridden a couple times.
Oh, yeah.
And everything, because the rest of us have liked it.
Sure. Doesn't happen very often, but yeah. I mean, Kevin's so tough that I do wonder that, back in the day when when the Flopcast was going to join the podcast, the network, if Kevin would have allowed.
I would absolutely reject my show from joining this network. Yes, I have a terrible, stupid show which I would not listen to, and I would not allow to be part of this network. Yes, I'll say that right now, Mike. Yes, good point.
I do have to ask you though. So when we had those discussions after being on a few panels with you at DragonCon, again associated with DragonCon, I wonder what your thought process was about like joining the network, because you were pretty much like on your own, right? Well, you were kind of
He had cornflake.
No, but I mean, as far as you were kind of associated with another podcasting group, weren't you?
So, not an official podcast group. I mean, my show, for people who don't know, I do a show called The Flopcast, which is like a comedy, nerdy pop culture show, and we kind of grew out of the comedy music scene, the Dr. Demento show. For anyone else who's old enough to know Dr. Demento, I was in a comedy band, and I was kind of part of that community, which was not an official network, but yeah, we were part of that scene. And I think that speaks to how there's a couple of different ways that this network has grown, and that's there are shows that pitch themselves to the network that email Mike saying, "Hey, I have a show. Can I be part of the ESO network?" And at times, Mike has reached out to shows, "Hey, would you like to be part of our network?" That was the case with the Flopcast. Mike reached out to me saying, "Would you like to bring the Flopcast into the ESO network?"
I think I actually talked to you here at DragonCon about it.
Yes.
Because Mike Gordon and I had talked about it, and we were like, Kevin's a cool guy. A little obsessed with chickens, but...
Oh, yeah. I put you in touch with my agent and my lawyers, and there was a huge bidding war. It went on for like 6 years, but eventually we agreed on a contract, and here we are.
Yeah,
I remember it being a pretty easy yes on Kevin's part.
This is the problem with having my wife in the front row.
You gotta print the legend.
But it's awesome to when you find shows that fit perfectly with the other shows and everything. That's all. And when I'm listening to other podcasts or I meet other podcasters and I find that they're a good fit for ESO, I first approach the board now and say, "Hey, I'd like to invite these guys." And what I usually do is have Mike, Kevin, Scott, and Mary, of course, listen to them to make sure that we're all on the same page and everything.
We just
And
let
then
Kevin go
says
first.
no.
We always let Kevin go
We let
first.
Kevin go first.
I will actually listen to these shows. And I was like, oh no. This is really boring.
It's like, he's like, "Mike, what the hell are you thinking? Why do you want these people on our
What is
network?"
wrong with you?
And it's like, "Kevin, okay, if you sure on this?" And it's like, if the others go, "Yeah, I think sometimes we are afraid to disagree with Kevin."
He is very
'Cause
scary.
he'll turn on.
Oh
our
yeah,
own show.
I'm a monster. Let's face it.
He is the Simon Cowell of the network, basically.
Wow.
Come on, he's a pussycat.
Really? So,
But I will happily sign off on if the show sounds good. I'm like, yeah, let's bring him in, which we've done. We brought, since we formed the board, we've brought in a lot of new shows.
yes, we have.
And I do think overall the quality of the shows that we've been getting are better and better, and very
Yeah.
much improved, and full of really good people who not only produce a good show and among themselves, but also want to do more and help out the network in more ways, and that's what we're looking for as well. Because as much as we, like to control things from the director's chair.
You'll never be director. No.
This is something that an effort from all of us. Everybody needs assistance, and it's something that we're doing, that we're working together towards, rather than just sort of being, just a corporate thing that spits out podcast every once in a while.
No, because it's easy for if we wanted just to take any show that wanted to be on, we could, and everything. We could be at 100 shows easily.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But-
But why? What's
Exactly.
the point?
What
Right.
is the point?
Yeah, I think we have 21 shows currently.
Yes.
Which is fine. Like
they're
we're not
20
looking to hit a certain number.
There are 21 really good shows.
Of course,
Like,
we
if
host
any-
3 of them.
Yeah. If anybody out there watching, listening, whatever, has not checked out our shows on the network, just pull up ESO Network, look through the shows. You'll find all of them are solid. They may not be necessarily for you, but all of them are solid productions that we stand behind.
Oh, very much so. And the ESO Network also means a lot more because we want to be your station for all things geek. And, we've had opportunities to have non-geeky podcasts on the network. And I've just had to say no to that because it doesn't fit the network. It doesn't fit what we are trying to base ourselves off of. And the geek community is so spread out and in some ways very fractured right now with a lot of the infighting, a lot of the trolls and stuff like that. And we want to put out a positive point of view. And we've actually had to reprimand some of the shows that have been on the network because of negative content or negative reaction to things that we were trying to put out there. And we had to write into our bylaws that, we have the right to kick you off the network if you guys say something that we don't agree with. And it could be political, it could be social, it could be something, very innocent in some ways that they might have said by accident, but we have the right to reprimand them on it and everything. I think we originally had as a 3-strike rule, but we've knocked it down to like one strike.
One strike.
Yeah, that
baseball
said,
would be so much better if it had the 1-strike rule.
the game would be like 15
Be very
minutes. It'd be
quick.
awesome. But yeah, what Mike's saying is I think it makes sense to, if you're going to have a network, you want to be comfortable with the shows that are on your network, and you don't want a show on your network that is presenting a viewpoint or that is diametrically opposed to how you feel morally or socially or whatnot. So that's something that we try to be mindful of. That said, there's a variety of viewpoints on the network as there should be, which is fine.
We do want people to think, that we're not going to tell them this is how we want you to think.
Oh, yeah.
Especially as our network is growing, and we've added international podcasts to it. It's become even more important that we're able to listen to it and hear what the folks are talking about. Because if it goes the wrong direction, it reflects on us.
Yeah, we don't have, this is not our motto or anything, but we sort of look at the adage, promote what you love, and instead of wasting time bashing what you hate, and
Yeah.
and
Unless
if-
it's
if-
Chris Chibnall, then you can bash
if there's-
all you want
Chibnall
to.
we can bash
But
all
look,
day.
I mean, that's not to say that we can't criticize, or we don't allow shows to criticize or have fun or whatever. But if your show represents anything hateful, if you're just spouting hate, negative, if your vibes are just negative all the time, you're not ESO material.
Yeah, I
mean,
like
we-
that.
we-
Mike.
we,
So there they go on double secret probation.
well, they don't even get past ours. I mean, they don't even get to Kevin. If there's a show that comes to us or that is out there that is just full of hateful things, then they have no place. That's not what we're interested in. We are really interested in, as much as we can, spreading positivity and diversity throughout the podcasting world, not anything else other than that.
Absolutely, and it's not censorship. You know, it's we want to be positive. We want to be comfortable with the shows on the network. And if a show leaves the network, they can keep doing their show. It's not like if
Right.
NBC
It doesn't
cancels
end.
a sitcom, then suddenly that sitcom doesn't exist anymore. If the ESO network doesn't want a show to be part of the network, that show can just keep going. You know, so it's not a huge problem to that show if we just say, you know what, this relationship is not working out. You go do your thing. We're going to do our thing.
And we've parted many times with, people who are still friends
Oh, yeah.
because of it. And there weren't any hard feelings. I've seen probably about half a dozen podcasters this weekend who have been part of ESO that are no longer part of the network. And it's been friendly, and
On the surface, it's friendly. But inside, we're seething.
ESO behind the scenes.
No, he's it's all.
but I was waiting for them to stop. So. I could see the new show on the ESO Network, the Felicity and Judy show.
Oh, man.
They have to get past
I am
Kevin.
both thrilled and terrified by this show.
Kevin won't sing.
I was gonna say-
Oh yeah, I'm gonna greenlight this show right now, right here in this room, on the record. Yes,
He knows where's the pants.
yes, oh yeah.
So when Kevin rejects a show, does he make someone else write the rejection letter?
Yes.
Yes, I do. Yeah, yes, I do. Good, excellent question. Yes, yes, I do. I'm hiding behind the scenes, and nobody knows that I'm the bad cop.
That-
No, I usually go, Scott, can you write this letter for us?
Yeah,
Scott's the
you
enforcer.
blame it on the board as a whole. Right?
Yes.
Sorry, I love your show. It just didn't get past the board.
And that's part of the fun of it and everything. And ESO has, as we've been growing and as the network has, we're not the same network we were 10 years ago. There's no way we could be. And it is pretty darn awesome to have the shows we have on it and everything. And where we're going to be, God forbid, 10 years from now, could be something completely different. And, we're starting to experiment with video. We're starting to experiment with other forms of media. And ESO is going to be growing with that because the podcast community is changing and we need to grow with that. And some of the shows we've had, yeah, they've been fun, but some of them didn't want to change either and didn't want to play promos or, because we don't even ask a lot to be part of the ESO network. Play, an opening and closing, play a commercial for, another show on it, or if we eventually get, some kind of paid promotion, if it fits your show, go ahead and play that also. And that's another thing. When we've already have it in our agreement that you don't have to even play a paid promotion if we get that, if it doesn't fit your show, but you won't benefit from it when we get money from it and everything. Eventually, I'm fully prepared that if ESO starts making enough money, I'm going to do profit sharing with the other shows and everything, and maybe even pay a co-host. So,
Wait a minute. Can we get this written down?
he's recording it.
It's all being recorded right now. Yeah, this is official.
Damn it, the lawyer's not here.
Was it that Mike Faber
Yeah.
imitation? No.
Scott's gonna shut down this whole plan of yours about paying people.
Yeah, that's why I have Scott in my pocket. It's good. So it's pretty awesome that we have plans to do things and want to get even further and grow with it, and we want to have fun with it. And I love having these people here next to me. I love having Mike Gordon. I love having Mary, Kevin, most of the time, and everything. But it's a cool thing to be able to do this, and I appreciate it. 10 years, that's pretty amazing, that we've done a network and that people, every time we have one of we have a quarterly meeting with, everybody who's on the network. And a lot of times I'm always like amazed that all these people are there listening to what we're saying. It's like, they're actually cool.
I don't think they're paying attention.
We're not paying attention.
Yes, I know. That's why Kevin takes notes for the board meeting. It's like, I didn't say it. Oh, yeah, I did.
But it has to be said, I know we're getting ready to probably wrap up pretty soon, but it has to be said, there would be no ESO network without Mike Faber.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Nobody
Our
works
fearless
harder.
leader.
And you, Mike, you deserve that pathetic smattering of applause that you're hearing right now.
Wow.
Nobody works harder for all the shows, not just his own shows, but other shows as well. No one has more stress about the network. No one has probably more money invested in the network as much as Mike Faber does.
No one else has any money put into the network other than Mike Faber.
And, it's a true credit to Mike Faber that the ESO Network started and continues.
Well, then that's where we're going to end it, because tonight's the last night of the ESO Network. No.
Oh, wow.
No.
Not only is this the last show, sure, it's the last show, it's the
Ever.
last show.
And so,
But I would say, as we're wrapping up, the point that we started on is that this has all been about community, and it's all been very tied in with DragonCon, and that carries through right now. Is we are here. We are a network. We're here with the digital media track. We're not raking in the big bucks doing this. We're here and we're unified as a network to be a community with folks like you. And in that respect, we have been
promote positive voices in the
Yeah,
Yes.
and
Exactly,
it's
'cause-
been a massive
Yes.
success on that level.
it's been wonderful to be associated to do the network. And we've been talking the whole time. Usually we do a QA type of panel and everything.
This is our time. We don't want to hear from you.
There will be no questions. Thank you.
There are no questions. There's only Zod. So, ESO means a lot to me. It means a lot to Mike. It means a lot to Kevin and Mary, of course. And it's gotten
Scott.
its own. Oh, Scott, of course.
Especially Scott.
But Scott, it's his life.
Well, and the fact that a lot of you guys are here on a Saturday at 8:30.
What's wrong with you people? It's Saturday night at DragonCon. You're in the basement listening to us talk about a podcast
the
network
ESO
in this
network,
weird little
Or at
room.
least a part of the ESO network.
Yeah. Judy and Felicity have a valid reason for being here. The rest of you,
Well, I think
go, enjoy, have fun.
Okay, I need to amend that. There would be no ESO network if it wasn't for Judy Faber.
Yes.
True. This is, the woman who always used to say, if you want another podcast, I get another dog. So,
I don't want another dog right now. So don't take another.
okay. We'll talk. So, but also truthfully, in all 100% honesty, the ESO Network is here because of you guys out there.
Oh yeah.
And everything. We wouldn't be here talking if it wasn't for the reputation we've built, if for the listeners.
We would not be fabulously wealthy right now were it not
If
for
it
the
were not
people,
for you.
for the 11 people in this room.
We have 11? Wow.
Maybe, I don't know. That's a rough count. Yes.
That's awesome. But I just thank you guys so much for 10 years. And thank you, Judy. Thank you, Felicity. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Shirley. Thank you, Chip. Thank you, of course, to Joe And
You mean Chip Douglas from My Three Sons?
no, not Chip.
Although
He was on our
cool.
show this
Yeah,
week.
Yes, he was.
We do thank him because he was a great interview last week.
Yes. And so, Joe, thank you for your show. You guys do fantastic work. And, you know, Tyra and everybody else who's here. And, of course, Kevin, you know, he's a patron supporter. No,
Look at that. Yeah.
so, and
We've got a bunch of ribbons up here too, so if anybody doesn't have any of our ribbons yet,
Any
come on up
ribbons,
here and
please.
grab a
thank
ribbon.
you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And, hey, rate us in the app 5 stars. Because to show that some people were here.